Sport, do your homework before you call me a liar, and I'll suck your face, you asshole. I'm not a tough guy, but don't call me out when you don't even know what you're talking about.
Yo. Welcome back to another edition of the Harry's Drinking Again podcast. I'm your host, Harry Too Scary, aka Mr. Harris. And as you can see, very special guest. I'm even gonna say the word infamous. Possibly.
That's good. I've been called that.
The man, the myth, the legend, Gianni Russo.
Thank you, my friend, for having me on. I appreciate it.
Hey, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Just your name alone rings bells throughout the industry, throughout Hollywood. You are the Hollywood Godfather. That's one of your best-selling books.
Thank God for that. And thank your audience for buying it, man. I can't believe 3 years, it's still a bestseller on Amazon. I got 2,500 five-star reviews. And my new book is out already, The Sixth Family. It came out on my birthday, December 12th. And already we got like over 20 five-star reviews on that one.
I've seen those reviews on Amazon. Like, wow, it's incredible work. For me, myself, and probably some of my audiences, they're a little, somewhat of a younger demographic, but I fall in the line with, I've seen a lot of your, I believe I first came across your Vlad TV interview,
Oh my God,
Vlad.
Yeah. It's good, that guy.
And I
For some reason now he don't talk to me no more. I must got him mad.
And I followed that up with like the PBD and Valuetainment, and started to become familiar with your story. And so
that's interesting that you brought up Valuetainment, because he Patrick Bet-David is an amazing guy, and he came to my house 3 or 4 years ago, which I'm sitting in now, my place in New York on Upper East Side. And he came with his camera crew. They were in Dallas at the time before he moved to Fort Lauderdale, which I thought was interesting. And he showed his mother this interview, an hour and a half. He came up here with a camera crew, did everything. And thank God for the book. This guy's a genius. And he showed his mother, and his mother said, "Patrick, don't you know who that is?" He said, "No, it's Gianni Russo. Gianni Russo is a friend of our family." He said, "Mom, what are you talking about?" Patrick was 7 years old when he left Tehran with his mother and father, and the Pasha and General Mudaba, I moved about 86 million of the Pasha's money to America, and some money of his mother and father. He said, if it wasn't for this guy, we wouldn't have had any money in America. And he's been such a loyal friend to me, thank God. But what a genius he is. What he's done with the insurance business. People don't realize how big this man is.
Yeah. I listen to him speak, me and my co-host, a lot. We follow his work, and and then in this day and time, somewhat of a man's man, if you will, the last of a dying breed, yourself as well. But we live in this culture now to where, of course, everything's PC. They want to turn little boys into girls and vice versa.
Oh my God, I can't believe this stuff. Yeah.
So it's when you see men like that speaking in public, especially on these platforms, it is empowering.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I got, I don't know if you're aware of it or your audience is aware of it. I have 9 sons and now 3 daughters. I just realized it. If you read The Sixth Family, I realize now I have 3 daughters. I was just acquainted with a 63-year-old daughter of mine who Marilyn Monroe is her mother.
Wow. At 16, and you were a
shampoo boy.
Shampoo boy, right? For Frank Costello.
No, not for Frank Costello. I was working for Frank Costello, and I got caught on the streets of New York on my routes for him, picking up bets and all the wire money throughout the New York and Upper East Side. In fact, this room, if you look behind me, this is one of his apartments. My dining room 16 without moving a chair. See all those chairs behind me?
Yeah.
I walked in here when I was 13, 67 years ago.
You've been in there this whole time, huh?
Well, I kept it. I got a lot of, well, I got about 7 places throughout the world.
That's amazing.
Interpol and FBI, everybody's trying to find out where they are. I just dwell in them. I don't own them. I just, corporations own them. I have keys to them.
Man, so how's that been, expanding all these decades and generations, going from your early films, the Godfather, and then moving forward, but going through these different evolutions of generations to where now the podcast era opens up and you found it seems like a whole new fan base or a whole new wave. How's later in your life? How is that process?
It's so crazy though, because like you mentioned, my first film I did, The Godfather, which was 52 years ago, and here I am, as you're saying, I'm in 73 countries.
Yes.
I can't believe the following I have, and I can't believe people want to follow me, which is a big compliment for what I have achieved. But when you start to, like you mentioned, my first book, Hollywood Godfather, that's the bestseller now for 4 years. There's over 2,500 5-star reviews. And now I just released my second book. They commissioned me for 4 books. So this is my first novel, because my lawyers told me, he said, you got to stop talking so freely because you're going to incriminate yourself. A lot of things don't have any statutes. And they pointed out a few that, there's 30-year statutes in Italy. America's 7. There's none on murders. And I admitted to 3 in my first book. So now I'm writing novels.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that as well. I mean, just the life you lived. If we could do just a quick rundown for the people that might be listening. I've done my homework. I got a whole bunch of notes here, but born in Little Italy, you developed polio when you were a young boy.
And the polio was actually August 7th, 1949, which seems like, nobody even knows what 1949 is. But imagine at 6.5, which I was at that time. I know who at the age of 6.5 knows what quarantine is. And I found out soon enough because they put me in a state hospital, and I was there for 5 years, quarantine. Nobody came. And it's not like the hospitals like we know now. There's no TVs. You're staring at the ceiling. I watched 2,300 kids die over 25 years. So if that doesn't give you a purpose to get out and achieve something, nothing will.
Yeah, I mean, that had to just cement your being in so many ways. Did you have like a faith instilled in you at that young age?
Oh my God, I was already an altar boy. My grandmother was taking me to church every day already. So when I got polio, I'm saying, why is God doing this to me? And then they put me in a 20-bed ward up on the Upper East Side at a hospital called Bellevue. And I couldn't understand it. In fact, I was part of Jonas Salt's experiment for the polio vaccine. And when the first batch, not like COVID as we all experienced in the last 3 years, that vaccine became available in 90 days, which I couldn't believe. Yeah. Ours took 3 years, and the first batch, they split the ward in half. 10 beds got it, 10 didn't. And I didn't get it. And I'm saying to myself, God, why are you doing this to me? And fortunately, I didn't get the 10 first vaccines, because within a week, all those people died. It escalated the virus even more. So, I mean, there was so many different road signs of what my journey or somebody else had planned for me, fortunately. And here I am, 80 years old going on, man, which God bless, man. It's been a great journey.
What would you say in your life? I mean, of all the events, I mean, is there a couple that just truly stick out to you?
Most memorable, I would think, that part of American history. I was part of Senator John Kennedy becoming president, because Joe Kennedy, unbeknownst to me, again, me being 16, 17, being a runner for Frank Costello, Joe Kennedy and Frank Costello, during Prohibition, they amassed $30 million each, which would be equivalent to about $3 billion each now. And when he approached Costello to help his son become president, the only reason they agreed to it, and again, so this was so far beyond my knowledge, the only reason they agreed to it, Joe said, if John became president, they would invade Cuba and get the casinos back for the mob. That's what that was all about. But again, it's way beyond my level at that time. But I'm traveling the world now, meeting every major guy in the world. I mean, I met the Savellas in Kansas City, Accardo and Giancana in Chicago, Carlos Marcello, who I became very close to in New Orleans. I mean, these are people that at 16 or 17, nobody's meeting.
Right.
But that's the kind of things that happened to me. And as we progress further, you see the transitions. And I met 3 popes, and then I met Pope John Paul, which I became very close to in the early 80s. Now he's a saint. In fact, my grandchildren go to school in Puglia, and we helped reconstruct that school after the earthquake 3 years ago. And it's a funny story, and if I can tell it, I'd like to, is my grandkids called me up and they said, Papa, you heard about the earthquake? I said, yeah. He said, well, we're raising money. So he gave me a number. I said, you tell the Monsignors, I know him well. I own 600 hectares all through that area because I have vineyards with my wines and different things. So I said, I'll give him the money. He said, I can. I said, yeah. So his father called me right back, who I haven't spoke to in years because, I have 10 mothers to my kids, and 9 of my sons were raised by their mother. So, they don't like me. And with that said, he said, why'd you tell my son that? I said, because I think he should do that. He said, where's he going to get the money? I said, well, he has a trust in the Vatican. He said, what? I said, yeah, he has a trust in the Vatican. He said, how come I don't know that? I said, you'll never know that. So anyway, the kid transferred the money, which I think is a very funny story. 3 months going forward, the school is open, and the nuns are taking the kids on a tour, and they go to the Monsignor's office. And if you see in my book, Godfather, Hollywood Godfather, there's a picture of me and John Paul. So the same picture is above the Monsignor's desk. So my 2 grandsons are with the nun, and my grandson says, oh, that's Papa. And the nun said, that's everybody's Papa. He said, oh, no, the guy with the Pope is my Papa.
Wow.
These kind of things you can't make up. This is craziness, man.
Yeah. The a lot of you must be aware that, especially like I'm sure you don't go into the comment sections and stuff, but you are aware that there's a large sense of the watchers and viewers that are like, oh, this guy's BS, man. This guy's full of shit. He didn't do this. There's no way. He didn't bang Marilyn Monroe. You are aware of that, though?
Oh, I'm aware. I don't even pay attention to that, I mean, every time people say that, if they look up, they'll see pictures of me and her and Cal Neva.
Yeah.
And I think, first of all, we all know, unfortunately, people, and it's just an inbred thing, and people are jealous, number one, and most of them haven't achieved much in their lives. So anybody that has achieved even half of what I've done, fortunately, they're going to deny it. So, but I mean, I ain't defending morons. Let them talk. I was told a long time ago, whether it's good publicity or bad publicity, as long as they spell my name right and they're talking about me, go ahead.
Good, yeah. I mean, I could think back to being just a young man in school and thinking about my crushes on my first teachers and the age dynamic between, it's in general world, it's totally cool if an older woman sleeps with a young boy. It just is what it is.
It's been going on forever.
Yeah, completely the other way around. It's not good. But how did you keep your mouth shut for so long after sleeping with the world's, hottest, most wanted woman at the time? Or did you tell anybody?
Well, I told nobody. And, the thing, what kept me alive, and when I started to work for Costello, he gave me the ground rules. First of all, he renamed me. Nobody even knew my name until he did The Godfather.
Called you
Everybody
the kid,
knew me
right?
as the kid.
Yeah.
The kid. And he said, all I want you to do is be on time, keep your mouth shut, and that's it. He said, I knew your uncle, my Uncle Angelo, who sent my great uncle, my grandfather's brother from Sicily, sent most of these people to America. I wasn't aware of that. I was a young kid. Carlo Gambino, at the age of 17, was sent from Sicily to New York to straighten out the Moderano gang, because these are Italians coming from Sicily, and they were fleecing the immigrants from Italy in their own neighborhood. They were shaking them down. So that's when they created the 5 families. And this was long before I was even thought of. But this is the history that I grew up with and respect, and I still respect it. And to me, it's a lesson learned when you think, if you're in the life, which I never was, and they protected me from being in that life. But the good news is, why I'm alive, and I've been shot, stabbed, kidnapped, and all that, but why I'm alive, I never said anything. And Costello, if we remember early on in 1957, I never forget the story, because I had to meet him, and he was all over the news. They used to call him the ambassador at the time. And someone ambushed him in his elevator on the West Side, and they shot him, and they grazed his head. And all the news, everybody was there. Even the elevator guys knew, but he said, I don't know who saw him. And they had a lineup. He said, no, I don't know the guy. I mean, it was too much going on. So the next day, as I did when I met him every day while I was in New York, or if I was traveling, that's the only time I wasn't there. I met him 11 o'clock at Peacock Alley at the Waldorf, and he had a bandage on his head, on his hat. He had the hat on and the bandage. You could see the bandage around the brim on his forehead. And I said, what happened? He said, just an accident, don't worry about it. And he taught me a lesson then. And, I've been carried with me because, I had 23 federal indictments. I've been implicated in a couple of murders that basically was self-defense. And I never had handcuffs on. I never went to jail in my life. I never didn't one hour I didn't spend in the jail. And I get certain guys talking to me and telling me, I said, oh, excuse me. Just a guy in particular recently, he spent 38 years of his adult life in jail. Yeah. I said, all due respect to who you are, I said, how should I take a lesson from you? You spent 38 years in jail. I spent 38 hours. Forget about it.
Yeah. Is that part of the blessing of just you, I guess, in your faith and God on your side? I mean, other than luck, I mean, you have to be like the world's luckiest man.
I think I really am. I think a lot has to do with my faith in God. I've been all over the world. I've done so many things. I'm about to do my 47th motion picture. I'm not even an actor. And I'm involved in 16 of them that I produced. I mean, Any Given Sunday was a great movie with Pacino. It's 38 movie stars. Even The Freshman with Brando again. I got Brando with probably his biggest paycheck ever before he died. I got him $15 million to do The Freshman. But that's why my grandchildren always tell me, Papa, everybody call him this today and this. I say, you know what you do? Tell them to go on my life history. How could all that be lies? Don't defend it. You wind up taking a beating every other day. Leave it alone. Who cares? He said, well, how do you keep your attitude? I said, you know why? I don't get mad. I get even.
Take me back if you can. I know you used to have how long have you, when was your transition out to Las Vegas? Because I myself I'm born and raised in Las Vegas.
Oh, you're kidding?
Mm-hmm. And I say raised. I lived in Reno. I've lived all over Nevada. But Vegas is very dear to my heart. How did you even make that transition? out there, and around what year was that? Because I know you had a restaurant, the State Street Lounge.
Oh, that came later.
That
No,
was
when I went out first, basically it was during the time that I went on the road to meet, everybody, Tony Accardo, Sam Giancana, Chicago, all the mob bosses. I was bringing envelopes, never knew what was in them. And that's when they were trying to get Senator John F. Kennedy nominated. And it took, 2 years and he was nominated. So now I'm spending every weekend at the Sands Hotel because they own that. And every weekend is that where John would come because he was, he's a womanizer, and they wanted to keep an eye on him. And Sinatra had control of him with Peter Lawford. So I'm just a 17-year-old kid sitting at Jack and Trotter's pool every night because I had the combination to the gate because they had these wild parties. And I'm watching these guys, 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, philandering with everybody. I'm Ava Gardner, Shirley MacLaine, people that your audience don't even know. I mean, what was her name? Julia Prowse. I mean, nobody even knows these people. But they were all nude in the pool. I mean, I couldn't believe this. I'm saying, wow. And they're doing, I thought they were snorting sugar because I was that naive. They're doing lines of Coke. I thought it was sugar. And I was saying, what the hell is this about?
Yeah.
No, so my knowledge of Vegas was introduced by that level. And then when I came back I was on the lam for about 24 months during the Kennedy assassination. And then I went back to Vegas. And that's when I opened my first club at the Tropicana Hotel because Joe Kennedy and Frank Costello owned a piece of that hotel. So I was out there and I opened my first club called Tiffany's, and Elvis opened it for me. He was there every night for three nights, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, because he was headlining at Kirk Kerkorian's International Hotel. And I met him early on in life through Sinatra and everybody else. And then the club you're talking about is Gianni Russo State Street, which that got to be 8,000 square feet. I had my own casino. And again, in the 80s, or 1980 actually, Sinatra, Sammy Davis, and Dean opened that, and they were there for 3 nights. So once you get those kind of people fraternizing your club, the rest is history. And I know everybody who owned every cab company in Vegas. So I would just call them up. Herb Tolman, I knew them all. And they would say, you got to go to State Street. You got to go to, Tiffany's. Elvis is there right now. So you get those kind of people hanging around, you're going to be a success. And that's what it was. Yeah. There was no genius by my point. It was just the location, the right place, the right time.
So I combed the web and I found the menus from the State Street Lounge. They're kind of blurred out, but they were like these white and green menus you can see on the screen. And, I pulled those up for the, for the people. I was like, that's interesting, like a piece of history.
That was in 1980. I mean, you figure now, here we are, 43 years later talking about it.
Yeah, I was looking at it had, just spinach salad for like $2.50. The
it was ridiculous.
Chicken Parmesan, $5.50 or something like that.
No, it was a great time, man. I lasted, and then, I had a problem in there one night, and the guy came in. And your audience all knows Steve Sharippa. Now, yeah. Steve Sharippa was going to UNLV, and, he wanted to be hotel management, and he always had a flair for acting. And then he was in The Sopranos, which he was great in, and now he's in Blue Bloods. So here's a name that they can contact him. He was there all through that time. When I took out Pablo Escobar's guy, Lorenzo Morales, I shot him twice between the eyes in front of 150 people, and I'm not a killer. But he already slit my throat. He already stabbed a lady called Laura Manis, who was a cocktail waitress at Stardust. You can't make this stuff up. You got to go online, you pull it up. Yeah, it's craziness, man.
I seen the it was in the paper and everything, man. And was that a mistake? Did you have a hit on you at that point, or was he just a drunk, rowdy guy in the club that?
No, what happened was he picked up this girl, Laura Mattis, and they met in my club because I served gourmet food till 6 in the morning. He was staying at Caesars, and I had a lot of house accounts because most people don't realize, maybe you do because you live there. After midnight, all you can get to eat in those hotels were the coffee shops. So I created a gourmet room that opened 6 at night to 6 in the morning, 12 hours a day. So you could have anything you want. But I did more business than most high-end restaurants from midnight to 6 in the morning. So he came in as a guest of Caesars, and they were picking up his check, which is the worst thing you could do in my place, because automatically he had a bottle of Cristal, a bottle of Louis XIII, 2 ounces of Beluga, pate. His check was $1,800 then, which is a lot, because the casino's picking it up. And then he got into an argument and broke the Cristal bottle and stabbed Laura in the face. Thank God he missed the eye. So I called Steve. I said, Steve, get over to table 7. He said, I ain't going over there, man. That guy's nuts. I said, what do you think I hired you for? Look at the size of you. So, again, my association with so many people throughout the world, I went over to the guy, introduced myself. I said, you hear these sirens? They're coming for you. Now, why don't you go through the exit so we can get Laura, because I knew her, to the hospital. She needs treatment. He said, no, man. I said, no, man. Where are you from? He said, you don't want to know. And I didn't know he had the bottle in his hand yet. So I thought he was reaching for her again. He faked it and went for my throat. Fortunately, I was agile enough. I was 40 at the time. And I went back, and he cut me along my chin line. I had 81 stitches. And I'm saying to myself, this guy's going to take me out. And I knew I had to diffuse him. So I said, look what you did to my shirt. This is a Sea Island cotton shirt. I waited 6 months for this. He's looking at me. He's got blood running out of a hole in his head. And he's saying, this guy's worried about his shirt. I just wanted to get my hand on the gun. So he was looking at me. I'm looking at him. But he wasn't watching my move. And I pulled the gun. I put it right at his forehead. I said, I'm going to tell you one more time. Get out of here. I don't need any trouble. He said, no, man. And he went for me again. I put 2 right between his head in front of 150 people. Now, how are you going to make that story up?
Yeah, I don't know.
Only to find out the next day, he was Pablo Escobar's major guy in the West Coast.
Yeah. And thank God for the lax gun laws in Nevada, right? Self-defense, stand your ground.
Well, not only that, but I already carry. I see what I do. I am so lawful. People can't believe. I have a liquor license in 73 countries. I have a carry permit even in New York, which is insane. You can't get them. Yeah. I'm in the gray area, but I'm not black and white. So I got enough political pull. And I'm an old man, especially now. In fact, I'm just renewing my carry in New York now because it's getting so violent.
Yeah.
But, it's, and I've never been convicted of a crime. Mm-hmm. Is that wild when you think about it?
not even so much as a jaywalking ticket or nothing.
Nothing.
On the sidewalk.
Oh, nothing.
So after, you find out it's Pablo's hitman. You then, he then places a bounty on your head.
No, what happened was they released me from the hospital. I got 81 stitches, and I got home, and there was a whole Santeria on my carpet. I'm living in the Las Vegas Country Club, secured.
Shit.
So I called. Well, you must know then, because most people don't even know what that is. I didn't. Yeah. So I called Coots, Detective Coots, with the Las Vegas Police Department, and he said, "We call somebody at the university," and they told us what this meant, because my kids' pictures with salamanders through them, this whole thing on my carpet. And he said, you're marked for death. He's with them. They're going to kill your pets, your children, your neighbors, you last. So I said, I got to get straighten this out. Because, especially my kids had nothing to do with this. And their mothers already hated me to begin with.
Yeah.
So I flew to New York to see a guy who hated me since we met each other at 16. His name was John Gotti. And now he's the boss. And I met him with O'Neill, his mentor, and Carlo Gambino, which, I was there all my life. And I said, as soon as I walked into the club, the Ravenite, 247 Mulberry Street. He said, oh, look, and now the actor's a killer, because it was all over the news. In 3 days, it was everywhere. And I said, John, I said, I'm not a killer. You don't understand what went on. And he's, he was always busting my balls, this guy. He never liked me. So I said to my John, I said, I need your help. He said, okay, what do you want? I said, I want to go see Pablo Escobar. He said, what? I said, I want to go see Pablo. He said, you're going to go see him. I said, yeah. He said, I'm going to buy you the ticket. And he did. And I went down there. He never thought I'd come back.
And that's why, because he's thinking, oh, I'm getting rid of this guy for
finally, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, John's ego, which I found out later on, because I made the movie The Godfather, and he was the Teflon Godfather, was this and that. Every time I'd like go to regimes or go somewhere and he was already in the room, and I'd walk in, people would go, just because I made these movies. I wasn't in competition in the mob. I didn't want to be in a mob. And he'd get really pissed. So this was his opportunity to get rid of me once and for all.
Right.
And he made the arrangement. And, 4 days later, I was back.
Wow. And he probably thought he almost like seen a ghost. Like,
yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, he heard about it.
How are you?
It went viral, actually. Because when I got on the plane, Pablo personally drove me to the airport with his crew, put me on a plane. I got to Miami, and Suits boarded the plane like you see in a movie. The stewardess said, please, everybody stay seated. We have people getting on the plane. They get on the plane. I'm already bandaged up from Nevada yet. And I said, what's going on now? And they come on the plane. They pick up the walkie-talkie in the plane. They said, Gianni Russo, raise your hand. I said, what the hell is going on? It was like a nightmare. For 72 hours it's been going on. So I raised my hand. They take me off the plane, which is a classic story. Very few people even know it. And I get off the plane. I get down the steps and they handcuff me. And they walk me to a plane, their plane, DEA plane, handcuffed. They're taking me to Washington and nobody's talking to me. So I'm on the plane, maybe 45 minutes. I said, I have to go to the bathroom. So I said, can you take these handcuffs off? Because they were behind me besides. So I said, where can I go at 3,500 feet? So one guy walks me to the bathroom. I come out of the bathroom. And this is so crazy because this has happened to me so many times. He says, Mr. Russo, can I ask you a question? I said, yeah, well, ask me anything you want. You were Carlo in The Godfather, right? I said, yeah. And he said, I know it. He brings me out there like I'm an old friend now. And, they still didn't tell me what was going on. They finally did when we landed in Washington. They saw me with John Gotti. They saw me with Pablo. Then they had Pablo putting me on a plane, flying back to Miami. They thought I was the new guy. They didn't even know what went on in Vegas.
Gee.
I said, I killed somebody in Vegas. Pablo's guy. They went crazy. They were radioing ahead, check this out. Obviously, it was all true. I shot this guy in my club, self-defense, went to this lady's. In fact, on my birthday, December 12th, 1986, your audience could look this up. The state of Nevada made December 12th Gianni Russo Day for me going to the rescue and saving this lady's life. I mean, you can't make this up, man. This is craziness.
Okay, that's new to me. I've lived there my whole life. So December 12th is Gianni Russo Day.
In Nevada.
1989.
They sanctioned it that day. That I killed Lorenzo October 28th that year, 1988, 89 rather. And it's crazy. I mean, that's why when people, I wouldn't even, when somebody says contrary things or whatever, I say, hold it, do your homework before you call me a liar and I'll suck your face, you asshole. I'm not a tough guy, but don't call me out when you don't even know what you're talking about. And that's who I am. And it's gained me a lot of respect. Not that I want it. I live by myself. I'm very calm. I'm in the dark. I'm opening now, and I'm opening in Korea. I got licensed in Korea for liquor. I got Don Corleone. I don't know if your audience knows. If you go to Corleone's Fine Italian Products, that's me. I own all that. Everybody, Pacino says, how'd you get all that? I went to Paramount early on. I saw the opportunity. This brand's not going nowhere. Here we are 52 years later, still talking about The Godfather.
Yeah.
You know, I just did a tour for the 50th anniversary for The Godfather. I was in Sicily or London. You'd think it was a brand new movie. Everybody's going to see it again.
Just having this lifelong drive of, like you said, you've seen an opportunity, you know, and you took it. Going back into your childhood, when you came across a Mr. Rabinowitz, and you started.
Wow, you did your work, man, Mr. Leo Rabinowitz.
And you started selling ballpoint
pens. They just came out. Wow, you're great, man. That's great. I'm glad to hear that, Harris.
And but what drew me to that story was when you said, you know, you didn't have the money, and you're asking them like, hey, I want these pins, and you know, what do you know, basically for.
Well, what I said to him was funny because my grandfather used to go there every once a month to get pens and pencils for the club because there were the Zinganet games and all that. So, and my grandfather, God rest his soul, he used to come every day and take me for walks. I was working in a bakery, Magnati's Bakery on Mott Street. And he knew I needed to be exercising. I was laying in bed for so long, 5 years. And when I got out, he used to take me for walks. And I loved walking my grandfather. And Leo was so excited about these ballpoint pens. He's just give me my pencils. I don't care about that. I went back the next day, and I'm again, my whole left side of my body, still walking with a limp. I said, Mr. Rabinowitz, I think I could expand your business. And he was very kind. And he knew my whole family for years. So he called his brother, Sammy, come here a minute. This young man wants to expand our business. He was playing with me.
Yeah.
And when he heard what I was going to do, it made sense to him. I said, you're here. You got a 15-foot wide store. Give me some pens. I give nothing to no one. I said, let me rephrase that. Lend me 15 pens, 50 pens. Whenever I sell the next morning, I come back, I pay you. I'll do that every day. He's okay. I said, you know, my grandfather told me one thing, another lesson in life. Look a man in his eye, give him your word, shake his hand, that's it. Forget contracts and all that. If you're not honorable, you're not honorable. I don't care what your lawyer does. So that went on for a while, and I saturated all downtown. So I took the train, the art train, up to Fifth Avenue and 59th Street. I asked them, where's the best place to go? So the lady in the ticket booth on Canal Street showed me where to go. I got off on the Park side. There's two ways to come. You can go up on the train, get off at 59th Street. It's still there. You come up and I'm looking at the Sherry Netherlands Hotel. I couldn't believe it. I never saw a building over 6 stories. I'm downtown on Mulberry Street. So I went across the street and I was selling ballpoint pens there. That's how I met Costello. And I thought everybody was going to church. Everybody was dressed every day. In our neighborhood, they were dressed on Sundays. Everybody was working all the rest of the time. And it lasted. I met him then, and I was with him until he died in 73. This is one of his apartments. I'm still in it.
That was my biggest takeaway from that story was, I don't know how much that still exists these days, but that ability to shake a man's hand, look him in the eye, and you know, there's a natural trust issue. There's an unwritten contract, and I have a son, 7 years old, and I'm trying to instill certain things into him.
That's so important. How many children do you have?
Just the one.
You know how many kids I have?
12.
Well, now 13. I got 9 sons and 3 daughters, 10 grandsons, and 3 granddaughters. There's 26 of these wild kids. I love them. My oldest is 63 now. I can't believe it. I had an opportunity. When you start to think who are my mentors, most people don't even know these people's names. Maya Lansky, Frank Costello, Carlo Gambino, Sam Giancana.
How could you not be, successful or driven at that point, right?
Well, I was just a messenger and getting $100 a day then. That's like $1,000 a day today.
Yeah.
And there was cash. Every time I saw Costello, he'd shake my hand with $100 bill in it. I used to bunk into him, try to find him some places.
Incredible, man. And then this was the New York, I hear just even the Vegas and the New York back then.
Oh my God, 60s, 70s, and 80s. It was amazing. In fact, the first time was funny because on my first birthday, being in the hospital, I got there on August 9th, 49. My birthday is December 12th. And I was really getting depressed because nobody's coming. I didn't know. I'm looking, there's no televisions and not like what we know now in hospital room. You're looking at a ceiling 24/7. And Dolores Barone, who happened to be Carlo Gambino's niece, was my floor nurse. And unbeknownst to me, he said to her, there's a kid from the neighborhood, not knowing why he would even say that, but he was very close to my uncle in Sicily, Angelo Russo, who was a boss over there. So he said, look after him. She used to bring me the Jell-O, the extra pudding at night. But the most important thing she did, which your audience should realize, this is the most important thing. She came and gave me a hug every night. And believe me, I needed that hug. Sometimes it's not a material thing. It's something that, you're missing in life, whatever it may be. And someone gives that to you, and that was it. What was wild, the night before my birthday, December 11th, she brought me a transistor radio, a little 8 transistor radio. I turned it on that morning at 6 o'clock, because what am I going to do? Turn on the radio, and I keep hearing about Frank Sinatra. He has the same birthday as me. He's from Hoboken, humble beginnings. His mother's a bomb maid. The father is a Todd Shipyard. And that guy gave me encouragement. I said, if he could do it, and that's what got me out of the bed. I was giving up like most of the kids were there because where are you going to go? And I started crawling along the floor and got into the rails and exercising. Because once you had some strength, they wouldn't even give you a bedpan. They were encouraging you to get out of bed. Because a lot of kids just laid in. Some kids just gave up eating, died. They didn't care. They didn't want to be there no more. And I don't blame them. But it's so crazy about my life because of Costello and me working for him, one of the major stops for me, like you were just pointing out, the 60s, 70s, and 80s, was the Copacabana, man. That was the place. And nobody realized he owned it. So I walk in there, I'm like 13, and there's a line outside already. It's like 5 o'clock. So I go through the kitchen like I always did, and I hear Sinatra live doing a sound check. And I walk into the room. He notices me. He looks at Julie Waddell, who was the manager, as if to say, who's this guy? And the first time I ever heard this, it put me on the top of the world. He looked at me and he said, oh no, that's Costello's boy. That's the kid. So Frank kept singing. I sat down and listened to 3 or 4 songs. Now I'm listening to the guy who's my mentor and live. So he puts a cigarette in his mouth. I walk over, I light it. And he says, I said, Mr. Sinatra, I just got to tell you, you saved my life. He says, how'd I do that? I said, well, I had a problem. I was in a hospital and we both have the same birthday. So we're both Sagittarius? I said, yeah. I said, in fact, I'm December 12th, like you. He said, how'd I save your life? I said, well, Mr. Gambino sent me a transistor radio. So he stopped me. He's like, Carlo Gambino? I said, yeah. It's okay. So I tell him the story. He said to me, what's your name? I said, the kid. He said, no, what's your real name? I said, the kid. He said, what, are we going to play a game here? I said, no. I said, Mr. Costello told me only answer to the kid. He said, now, are you talking about Frank Costello? I said, yeah. He said, wait a minute. Carlo Gambino gave you a transistor radio. Frank Costello named you the kid. Maybe I should really get to know you. You got more power than I do. And you know what's so funny, though? He baptized my son, Luciano. I was friends with him until he died.
Wow.
And that's why, you may have heard that Nobody could say what I'm about to say. Sinatra was my only singing teacher. Marlon Brando was my only acting teacher. And the person who made me a man was Marilyn Monroe. You don't need any more accolades than that.
Oh man, I was gonna ask you, like, is there anything left on your bucket list, you know, in terms of doing things with other people that you're still looking for, or at this point in your life, are you just on your own journey and enjoying your life?
You know, that's a great question because I really don't, I never had a journey. It's coincidences that keep coming up to me. And I've been blessed because, you know, I met Saddam Hussein. I met people nobody would ever meet. And, you know, and presidents and popes. And it's crazy. And I'm nobody. I'm a kid, you know, a crippled kid from the neighborhood.
Yeah, from the Marilyn Monroe, JFK, you know, Saddam Hussein. Even to say all those names in a sentence is like, where are we going here? You know?
Oh, yeah, no, it's crazy, man.
Connected.
I'm so blessed. I mean, I don't want to sound corny, but I'm very religious. I believe in God. I don't care if you believe in a monkey, as long as you believe in something other than yourself and believe in yourself. After that, live your dream, man. Try it. Yeah. I am an advocate of that. I mean, you know, it's interesting. You mentioned my book. I'm illiterate, basically. I never went to school. I was always on the street. I just wrote a best-selling book, not just, but 3 years ago. If you go on Amazon, there's 5,000 five-star reviews of this book. Right. And now my new book is out, The Sixth Family, and that's already got 5-star reviews again. And they commissioned me to do 4 more books. I can't believe this. Now I'm writing books at 80. What am I, crazy?
Never going to slow down? I mean, damn, you know?
No, I don't want to. You know, as long as I have the energy, like today I did 2 miles. I mean, I go out, I walk, I stay healthy, I eat right, I stay between 160, 165. I'm not changing anything. You know, if it's not broke, why fix it? I'm leaving my life just the way it is.
Did you go through, you know, do all the drugs and all the partying? Was that
no way?
Was that was never your MO growing
up? My MO with that, we sat down once again. Costello said, get involved in that stuff. Don't show up the next day. I never took a drug in my life. In fact, I did some major movies like Tony Curtis with Lepke. I mean, I played Albert Anastasia. He played Lewis Buchholz in Murder Incorporated. This guy did more drugs. I mean, even Brand, they all did it. That's what Hollywood's about. Right. Like I was saying to you, I was sitting at the pool at Julie Weintraub's property in Sands at Sands Hotel. He was the owner on paper, and he used to have pool parties there. I mean, every drug in the world these guys were using, but I didn't know what they were doing. I mean, how would I know? This is a funny story I should share with you and your audience. John F. Kennedy had a very bad accident in the armed services. I don't know if you know this. He wore a 20 or 30 pound brace, even during his presidency, on his back. Did you know that?
I didn't know.
So Dean Martin has a bad back because he played 36 holes of golf a day. Dean Martin introduces John F. Kennedy to Percodan. Now, a couple of months go by, we're at this pool party, and Julia Prowse is a long, lanky singer. You're probably not that great known, but she was big in Vegas in the 70s and 80s. She was the headliner at the Desert Inn. And John F. Kennedy never saw a woman without any pubic hairs. And these women were all swimming nude. Now imagine me. I'm 16, 17. I'm watching Eva Gardner, Shirley MacLaine, all these people in the pool, nude. I'm in the corner masturbating. Nobody knew what I was doing with that towel. How could I see all these people? I see them in the movies. They're all here. Sammy does a line on Julia Prowse's stomach. She's laying along the pool deck, her legs in the water. You could picture her laying back. And I thought it was sugar. I didn't know what it was. They put it down, and Sammy always had a straw with him, and he does a line, and then he invites the senator who became the president to do the same thing. He does the line. He looks up to Dean. He said, "Dean, this shit's better than that pills you're giving me." Only to find out later on it's cocaine. I'm saying, this guy's going to be the president of the United States. It's like, and you can't make this stuff up. It's crazy.
Yeah, I know back in the day, of course, they were just way more loose with it. Even I hear stories from the 90s, some of the record labels, you'd walk up and...
Oh my God, no, that was the big thing. That was how they got hits made. These promoters would come up and bring them 2 or 3 ounces, 4 ounces, whatever they were.
Yeah. So that's probably a testament right there to your longevity, your youthfulness. A lot of celebrities, they get burnt out.
Oh my God, yeah. I've seen so many. Some close friends too, that I saw them going down that road. The other thing too, which is going to sound very idiotic to most of your audience, I sleep 10 to 12 hours every day. I learned that in the hospital. When I was in the hospital, my doctors used to say, stay in bed, sleep, because I wanted to get out. I used to cry all the time. I was depressed. You should just rest. And when you go on in life like I have in so many different ways, when your body horizontally is laying down, it's the pressure of all your organs. Your heart don't have to pump so fast. When you start to think of gravity, my kids, I get a haircut every 2 or 3 weeks. I got full heads of hair. Some of my boys hate me because I got more. Look at my hair's like the shoulder length.
Right. Yeah. It doesn't look like a hair patches or anything going on here.
Oh, no. There's not. And I got it down there. It's at the end of the day. No, but I got shoulder length hair. And I want it. Why wouldn't I? Better than not having any. Everybody's shaving their head. Wants to get those things. They shave their head. Now forget that stuff. But to me, why I'm saying it as words of wisdom and which I have now in life, if I can encourage anybody just to stay healthy, that's the biggest thing. I mean, you can have all the money in the world, you still die. When Jobs died, that was the biggest thing. If that guy couldn't save himself, who's going to save himself?
Yeah.
It's your routine to stay healthy. And I don't want to go nowhere. I'm having too much fun, man. Why would I'm dating young girls yet. I love women, and it's good for your brain and everything else. Get all that poison out of your body.
Yeah, I call it getting that evil out. Got to get the evil out.
Oh yeah, man. The venom.
Man, that's awesome. I can only hope to live a full life like that. I myself, I'm 35. All that we talk about health and stuff on the show. Although this is Harris's Drinking Again. When I do my lives, I have a sign in the back that says, warning, drink responsibly. I've done all my drugs. I've been down that whole route.
Well, that's good. Then you're giving them messages that you've experienced.
Yeah, and I make it a point not to get too. I like the casual cocktail. The good old fashioned American spirit. And but I never get too crazy with it. Nobody has a story. I've been blacked out drunk when I was young, early 20s, but move on from the whole thing, become almost like a monk in my old age. Maybe smoke some weed and just do the hippie thing, grow old. A couple more questions before we do wrap up. So I was gonna ask you, you've been in the nightclub business, in the nightclub your whole life. What's always been your go-to cocktail or your favorite cocktail?
Right. Well, it used to be vodka, and then I had to stop because I own Corleone. I mean, you see my vodka, Godfather Vodka.
Oh.
Godfather Vodka now has been picked as the best vodka in the world.
Okay.
It's quadruple distilled. The water's from the Italian Alps. The bottle is black with Don Corleone on it. Oh. You will never have a smoother vodka. I guarantee it.
Okay, I'm gonna have to try it out. I tried that Crystal Head vodka that Dan Aykroyd has after.
Oh, that's bullshit.
After listening to him on Joe Rogan, he was like, "It's over Herkimer."
That's gone. Forget about it. I mean, hey, listen, it was marketing. They got him to do it. It was perfect. No, I went there. I mean, Francoli in Italy. I went to the distillery. I tasted it. With vodka, is basically it's the water, and this water is from the Italian Alps. So you got to try it. I mean, if you live close by, I'd bring you a bottle. But I mean, just call All Star. They'll ship it to you tomorrow.
Oh, definitely have to try that out, man. I always like drinking new things, and that's one of the things I'm working on. Maybe on the back end, we could talk about. I'm trying to get a liquor sponsor for the show. I need an official liquor for Harris's Drinkin' again. So I'm always.
We may talk to you about it, because what I'm doing now, Ave out of Mexico, we're coming out with a prohibition tequila. You're not going to believe, and I have the two families, the Corleone family and the Ave family, in the 30s merging, and they come out with this. It'll be out in the next year. I mean, this year coming. Now we're here already.
Okay.
So I mean, we'll let's talk about it.
Absolutely, I'll give you a free promo just for the hell of it. Starting the show.
Let's give you some money and let's do it.
Yeah. I'm trying to get there, man. My goal right now is YouTube monetization, like everybody else, and I'm working on my first 1,000. So
yeah,
having you, bless me with this, being, this is really tonight. The show I'm gonna do live after this is our 52nd live in a row. So
wow. That's great.
It caps off the 1-year anniversary tonight. So the fact that this happened, and I can post it on the back end. And
oh yeah, please. And anything I could help you, call me back. Whenever, if you're seeing I'm doing something, if you think I could help you, be my pleasure. Because people, that's the other thing. People should never forget. If somebody helps you, help somebody back. And the only reason I'm successful, people have always reached out and helped me. Oh. From Carlo Gambino to Dolores Barone to Costello to Sinatra. I would be nowhere without these people. And you shouldn't forget that.
I would love to have you back on a couple months or so. Definitely
whatever you say is right. And let me help you promote it too. My audience loves all this stuff. So it works.
What's your favorite Italian dish?
Whatever I'm eating that day. I'm a chef.
Marilyn Monroe's box, was it shaved or did she have a landing strip?
Oh man, now you're getting pretty deep now, boy. Today, if your audience saw Marilyn Monroe, when I saw her, they would consider plump. That's when women were zaftig. And she definitely had hair on herself.
I appreciate this so much. Like I said, I definitely I will keep in contact with you.
Well, you have all my numbers now, so just
Absolutely.
We're an extended family. Hi, this is Gianni Russo, a.k.a. Carlo from The Godfather. Listen to Harris Drinkin' Again, believe me. If you don't, you should stop drinking.
Harry's drinking again.